So hi everyone, this is the second part of the video about connecting Excel to Exchange and then doing a bit of analysis on what emails you have, what categories you have, and all such things. So if you haven't watched the first part, then I encourage you to do it. This one is going to be a bit more advanced. My assumption is that you understand the idea of pivot tables, countifs, and generally you're comfortable playing around with Excel, because I won't be doing too detailed basic stuff, not the least because the categories I'm using, which I showed in the first video, is that I have my Outlook items and I've set up a real Exchange server and all that stuff. You know, I only have 5 emails, but in your company environment you'll probably have thousands, and my categories, which are based on the logic of subjects, teams and regions, you might have them differently. Now, if you can, I'm really encouraging you to use the idea of 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s and whatever else is, and preferably find a character such as a comma that never appears in any of your category names. And also, if you're using the idea of 1, 2, 3s, then try not to use those characters anywhere else. So don't have something like number 2 creative team 1, number 2 creative team 2, because it will interfere with what we're doing, and it's not the end of the world, but the more you can follow this, the easier your life is going to be. Again, I said this in the first part, this is educational, hence only 5 emails. Obviously I can't use a corporate inbox because A, my company would kill me, and B, there's a bit of a GDPR issue on that one. So yeah, follow it around and see if it's any useful to you. So what we did in the first half is we got the extract from Exchange through a data connection. Now, on purpose, one of these emails has no category 2. This one only has a 1 and a 3. And we want to find a way to eliminate this issue. So, new column, call it something sensible, amended categories, and say it will always equal this. And then you start if is error, so find 1 in there. So if you can't find the characters 1, hence the whole thing about don't do something like number 2 team 1, because then that's going to throw off your whole logic and you'll have to find your own logic, which is fine, it's just your challenge. Then comma 1 empty, else nothing, and you'll take that and stick in another for each of the numbers that you have. So in my case it only goes up to 3. If you have 1,000,000, then the Excel can't do that long, and you will always want a comma at the end. And the reason, and see how now this says empty, the reason why you want a comma at the end is because you could have something along the lines of can't type management and management, I don't know, support. Now if you, in the next step we're going to start doing a countifs really, and of course because to management appears in to management support, you would double count that, and you don't want it. So you want to make sure that everything is terminated with a delimiter. So let's do a Cartesian product, and for that you will take this whole column, well, the rows you have, and stick it somewhere else. Now I like naming things properly, so list categories, and then just do a data, not remove duplicates, text to columns, and you have it delimited by, in my case, commas, and again find something unique, like, you know, don't do space or any such stupid thing. completely ignore any formatting because we're not going to care about that at all. And you then sort. Now you can get rid of your duplicates, and you'll take everything here. Now let's say subject, team, region. Now what you'll want to make sure is that empty always comes up, and there are ways to do this. I mean, if you have way too many categories or something, then you can do an if match column name and column and empty is error, then then do it, else don't do it. Otherwise, just, you know, like with 3 bunches you can be lazy. With 30, just use a match. And then you want to do individual tables, which is fun and games, but you'll have to do it. And then you take your first one. You'll find very soon that I've done this about 3 times by the time the video gets on YouTube, so I will have a lot of tables in my data model, but you won't, which is good. So you do want to have this clicked in, and then you go into all and pick your tables, subject, team, and region, and that's going to build a Cartesian product. Design, get rid of subtotals, get rid of totals, your layout is tab form, and you want to repeat all. So then comes the fun part where you'll start you start counting counts, and you do countifs plural. Now something I want to point out, that if you did watch part 1 you've seen it, if not then I have a bunch of those hidden here. That's because my Outlook is set up in funny ways, but in your case that shouldn't be an issue. Nonetheless, we want to check 5 emails, not 10 emails. So initially the values that I'm going to have are going to be duplicated. You're not going to have this issue, so keep in mind, and I'll mention this again in about 2 minutes. So your region is going to be that. You don't need to fix it. And your criteria is going to be star and this guy. And remember the stuff I said about the termination? That's why you have a comma there. And then you just get lazy and copy paste this. So you then want to do B and C, and that's the end of it for you. Now if I do this, what you want to make sure is that this number lines up with the number of emails, and this is where I said I have 5 because 5 are hidden, and I have 10 because countifs hasn't been specified to only do the folders in question. So you don't do this, but I'm doing it, and I will add in that guy, and it needs to say sent items. And now now I'm down to the number it's meant to be. And really this is the basics to it. Now you can't make a pivot out of a pivot, so let's make another sheet, paste values, and I don't know, dashboard basic, and then make another pivot. I told you this is going to be a bit funny. Dash piv, and now you have what you wanted. So now you can say, you have, you know, this many emails in the US and the EMEA and that many by the combination of the two. And you know, my assumption is you have an idea about pivots, so I'm not really going to do all this, but you can play around anything you want. You can you know, you can add in the dates things, you can add in a few other things. Obviously, if you're adding in extra columns such as dates, then you'll have to deal with that being brought in here, which is doable. It will add an awful lot of those, but then again, Excel can go up to 1 million, so unless you have a daily breakdown of, I don't know, 1,000 odd, it shouldn't be an issue. But you can do months, and all of that you'll be controlling through, you know, adding in columns here and saying, I don't know, year, month, that, or year, that, or I don't know, be creative. You can use the display tools, you can use has attachments, and all of that has to go into your list categories. So if we were doing list attachments as an extra, then you would have a true false here, and true false can't have an empty, but you know, then you would add in has attachment as a table, and you would shove it into this one, data model, and you will do the count ifs accordingly. So again, it's education, and I'm not going to spoon feed you on this, but you get the idea. And you can do whatever you want to do. You can do your pie charts and I don't know, all that stuff. So there you go, that's your breakdown. Most of your emails came through, I don't know, so you know, most of your emails have to do with healthcare, and most of your emails come from the US, and I don't know, whatever dummy stuff I put up there. So yeah, that's how you do it. This could be super useful for particularly, I think, human resources and call centers. And as I said, there really should be a lot more basic analytics in HR. I've been working in the HR related data for a bit of time now, and it's an absolute headache how much it's lacking analysis. I think there's good money to be made on this, but also, you know, if you want to impress the non-techie people in HR, do this stuff. And you don't have to pay for it separately. You don't need SharePoint, which costs an absolute fortune. You don't need a bunch of other things. This is just Excel running in a normal office environment, no macros, no particularly advanced knowledge. And yeah, you know, you can dump this into PowerPoint, you can link it into PowerPoint, you can do Power BI if you want, although if you have Power BI, then that can connect into Outlook, I think. Yeah, so that was part 2, and if you have any comments, then do drop the comments and I'll try to reply. If you want to see something specific, want to learn something specific, again, drop a comment and I'll try to accommodate. I can do the Exchange Outlook things quite a lot because, you know, this is all running on my home virtual Windows server, so easy. Drop me a line. Cool. Well, thanks for watching, and yes, share the love. Thank you.